The tragedy.
All right, we're going to talk about the two Americans that were found and rescued from a violent kidnapping in Mexico.
Two of the Americans who were kidnapped after crossing the border are back in the U.S. this morning. And you're looking live at the hospital where one of them is being treated in Brownsville, Texas. The other two Americans were killed. Matt Rivers is in Mexico City with the latest for us. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Michael. One person has already been detained in this case, but with so many U.S. law enforcement agencies putting pressure on their Mexican counterparts to find who is responsible here, more arrests could be coming soon. This morning, 2 of the 4 Americans kidnapped in Mexico now waking up on U.S. soil after surviving this horrific attack. Armed men seen loading the group onto a pickup truck in Matamoros Friday. Their other 2 friends did not survive.
2 U.S. citizens were returned to the United States. The bodies of 2 other U.S. citizens killed in the same incident were also recovered.
Eric James Williams and Latavia Tay McGee making it out alive. McGee seen here with law enforcement shortly after she was rescued. A convoy then taking the survivors to the border near Brownsville, Texas. The 2 then crossing over to a waiting ambulance. McGee's mother describing the moment she found out her daughter had survived.
I had to hold on. I was thinking the Lord. I said, thank you, Jesus. There is a God.
Williams now in a Brownsville, Texas hospital after undergoing surgery for multiple gunshot wounds to his legs. His wife, Michelle, able to speak with him briefly.
It was just tears of joy, I guess, that he's alive. I didn't even want to imagine what he was going through or, what any of them were going through.
2 other members of the group, Shaid Woodard and Zindell Brown, tragically killed. Authorities finally finding the missing Americans after a 3-day manhunt, leading them to this wooden house in Lagunona, outside Matamoros. A 24-year-old man identified only by his first name, Jose, arrested. Mexican authorities say he was in charge of watching the Americans. According to her family, McGee had traveled with the others from Lake City, South Carolina to Mexico to get cosmetic surgery. When the 4 crossed into Matamoros on Friday, her family says armed gunmen in body armor chased them, opening fire on their white minivan. The gunmen then kidnapping the group. A Mexican bystander also killed. Mexican officials now believe the shooting and kidnapping was a case of mistaken identity. A source close to the investigation telling ABC News the gunmen may have targeted the vehicle because they wrongly believed the group of Americans were rival human traffickers. Now, this case was solved relatively quickly here in Mexico, a country with an untold number of unsolved disappearances, kidnappings, murders. It's prompted a lot of criticism of Mexico's president, saying this case was only solved because Americans were involved, a deference given to the United States.
Yeah, this was actually really interesting that a lot of Mexicans were upset. Like, Mexican nationals were genuinely disappointed in how quickly this prompted an investigation by the Mexican government. Because, the Mexican government normally, according to Mexican nationals at the very least, rarely ever prosecutes cases that pertain to Mexican nationals being kidnapped in this exact same area, in this exact same region. Also, there was a Mexican bystander that died too, and that got 0 coverage in most places. I mean, people briefly mention it as a footnote. I get why American news outlets would mention it as a side note, but it is wild that the Mexican government immediately took matters in their own hands. They didn't even give the name of the bystander. If Kanye tries to stab his flight staff on the private jet, we would probably never know. Wait, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? I was talking about this with a coworker, and he poked fun at how Mexico has strict gun laws. It does, except it doesn't fucking matter when you have literally one of the larger countries on the planet with the most amount of guns per capita and in totality, literally at its northern fucking border, with a willing population to purchase drugs because drugs are fucking criminal, and with an insane arsenal that they will readily give to the cartels. The fucking gun trade is the reason.